Here, I'm just bringing my hands to the back of my head and neck and getting a nice little stretch and sway side to side, back and forth, just decompressing the spine a little bit before I go into an upward facing dog. You're just going to shift your body weight forward slowly and find that child's pose from here. We're just going to kind of sink it back for a second. Now, we're just getting into the shift back of the hips. I don't necessarily expect you guys to stay in child's pose. I actually want you guys to move more intuitively here. So if your hips need to be elevated, if you need to find a tabletop position and move through the spine, whatever feels good for you. And when you're ready, we're going to start with that left leg in front. We're bending that 90 degree in the front leg, 90 degree in the back leg, and we're leaning forward over that front knee. So this is like a variation of pigeon. But when we're looking at creating space in the body, a lot of times where we hold is within the hips. So I like to start there, especially after a long day. This is a really good one to save for the end of a long work week. I'll go into a 90-90 switch and just go to the opposite side. And observe, notice if one side's holding more tension than the other. Part of working with the body is understanding what your body's saying to you. So when we can kind of work within this space in the hips, we're going from one side to the next. You're seeing if one side's talking to you more. And if it is, if you want to hold anything here that we're doing today for a little bit longer, you can go ahead and pause the video. Don't feel like you need to rush. I'm just giving you guys a basic structure for how to meet yourself at the end of a long day. So coming into a cross-legged seated position, just find your spine nice and tall before you drop your body over your legs. Again, these are variations of hip openers. I don't think everyone can just go right into pigeon, especially if you're going into this cold. You might feel more constricted, but wherever you're feeling the most amount of tension or resistance, try to breathe into those pockets. Taking a couple more deep breaths. Notice if you're holding any tension in your jaw, your forehead, really letting the upper body fall heavy, not holding anything up. And slowly coming back up. We're going to switch the order of the legs. So just notice the difference right off the bat. When I go into one side versus the other, I might have more range of motion. I might not feel as much sensation on one side to the other. These are all things you're paying attention to, but notice if your breath has shifted. Notice if you've started to shorten the breath. We want to keep that breath met and integrated into whatever we're doing, even if it shortens a bit. Coming into seated forward fold. And I like to bring my elbows nice and tight into my legs, pulling up through my mid back and dropping my chin nice and tight to my chest. When you're breathing here, notice where you're feeling the tension from the bottoms of the feet and draw the awareness all the way up to the back of the head and neck. We roll up the spine, pointing the toes, and then configuring the body all the way down so you're nice and comfortable on your back. Cross the right ankle over the left thigh and drop that bind over to the left side. We want to get a full expression of the twist, so turn your head all the way right. Taking 2 to 3 full breaths here before we come back through center. You're doing great. Coming back through, we're gonna drop over to the opposite side. So you're turning your head the opposite direction of the knees. switch it out. We're going left over right, turn the head left, drop into the right with the bind. We hold so much in our body, so when we give ourselves the opportunity, I think about when, we have our friends or family members come to us with problems and things that might be stressing them out. You're going to sit down and you're going to hold space for them. But your body's no different. Your body talks to you all the time, but more often than not, you put your hand out and say, I don't have time for this right now. I gotta output, I gotta work. But when you take the time to really listen to your body, you're gonna be able to create so much more space and be surprised at the amount of energy you can pull in actually by slowing things down. We always feel like we need to overcompensate, but the reality is we're not overcompensating for anything. There's nothing that you can do, no extra effort that you can put in that's going to get you to where you need to go. If you're not taking the time to recharge, you're not going to be able to have longevity in the game. Usually just here, I give myself a second, again, just to feel the spine, pulling the knees into the chest, pulling everything up to center, just giving myself a nice big hug, a nice big squeeze. I try to get the feet up higher than the hips. And if you feel like you need a little extra support, you can always bring like a weight to your feet to give you a little extra support. Connect in, back to that breath. We're going to pull it back through center and go opposite side. Gravity is also, a natural assist, so it'll always take you into a safe space, especially when you're doing poses laying down. The ground is your support and gravity is your natural assist, so it'll always take you into the spaces you need to go. But again, notice how the poses are affecting your breathing and come back into that intentional breath, in through the nose and out of the nose as we transition to tabletop. This is the flossing technique. I just want you to move however feels good before you push it back into downward facing dog. We're going to lift that left leg high to set it up all the way to the top of the mat. We're going into pigeon. I like to get a good lift through my chest before I drop it down and into pigeon pose. I check in with my back leg to make sure it's straight. And then I fall forward into this side. I usually give it about a minute. Surrender to the tension. Where can you let go? And again, we aren't just a physical body, we're also an energetic body, an emotional body. So being able to drop in to a deeper level of awareness is also too about meeting what it is that makes you feel discomfort. Because that's actually one of our greatest allies, is our tension, is our pain, is our discomfort. It shows us the most about ourselves. I'm taking a couple more deep breaths before we switch it back out. We'll just do a switch right into that right side right away, drawing it through and setting it up. I also think it's important to recognize if your mind wanders, where is it wandering to? Is it wandering to the same place? What are you focusing on when you're here? And can you draw your attention back to what it is that you're doing? Can you bring your attention back and focus? Work that muscle of focus in for 3 more deep breaths. And when you're ready, I want you to take one more big breath and relax and release. See where you can release and relax and surrender. We'll transition it to downward facing dog. Take your time. Coming into a forward fold. Before we transition here, I just want you to give yourself a nice big hug. Bring your forehead to your knees. Take a big breath and release the arms with the exhale to roll up from the base of the spine. We'll make our way up to a standing position. Finish strong and connect in with your hands at heart center. Thank you guys so much for your practice today. Until next time.